Good afternoon. So good to see all of you here today. Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. Come on in, have a seat. Did you guys grab a drink, grab some water, grab some snacks, whatever you have? Come on in, sit on down. Good to see all of you here. Today is June 6th, 2023. It's not only June, but it's also Pride Month. Happy Pride, as well as my birthday month. That's right. It's your boy's birthday month. So look, if you guys want to put a little, something in my Cash App, that's a link in the description down below. Anyway, so good to see all of you here today. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe to me there. Also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can find me on there throughout the week, as well as you can find me typically here on Tuesdays at 2 on this channel. Now, if you guys would like to get email notifications so that you guys do not miss any of my streams or my clips, then you guys can also go to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com so you guys can get those email notifications so you won't miss it. Because guess what? The YouTube notifications are not that reliable. So rely upon me. Rest your worries upon thee. See? So also, thank you so much to all the patrons on Patreon, as well as on Coffee, as well as members. And yes, I do have membership. So thank you so much to all of you, because without you guys, each and single one of you, I would not be able to do this at all. And so this means a lot, because this means that I am able to do this, and continuously do this, and this channel won't go away. It's here to stay. So, so good to see all of you here today. And before we get into what we're going to be talking about, as per usual, I am going to be saying hello to everybody in the chat that are here this afternoon. So starting off, we have Serena coming in saying, greetings, comrades. Good to see you, Serena, coming in with the rainbow hearts. You have Sean Miller coming in saying, you're good to see you, Sean. Terry Connolly coming in, saying, afternoon, fam. Good to see you, Terry Connolly. All right. Also, we have Meteor Dreams saying, hi, JB, hope you are well. There is a lot of horrible comments on your video from Sunday. It was disappointing to see how the left has become socially conservative. Yeah. If any of you have not watched my stream on RBN, I was basically taking the issue of LGBTQ rights as well as pride and linking that to class issues, which it has a link. And there were quite a few people who had a disagreement with me about LGBTQ issues. And that's the thing. I'm queer, I'm gay. So the thing is that I have my opinions on these issues. And ultimately, I have a very low tolerance to people who argue against the disenfranchisement of a group of people who are marginalized. As a black man, I know how that feels. So as a queer man, I also know how that feels. So that's basically how I feel. And so I put that out there on RBN. And so it's the same thing that I say all the time on my channel, that they used homophobia, transphobia, queerphobia as a tool to keep the working class divided. And so that's basically what I was speaking about on RBN as well. And so this is why it's important for us to learn, educate ourselves, and to recognize that, if we're engaging in this, it can also be white supremacy and racism. Even if you don't consider yourself white supremacist or racist, we all have internalized white supremacy. We all have internalized racism in some way, shape, or form. And so we also have to get rid of that. Some of us, people like me, like a cis man, have internalized misogyny and misogynoir. We have to get rid of that within ourselves. You cannot live in this country and not have internalized some of these things. And yes, I have too. I even have internalized homophobia, right? So we have to work on ourselves. We have to decolonize our minds too. Just because I'm on the left and I'm a socialist doesn't mean that I still don't have to contend with these things either within myself. So we constantly have to do a battle within ourselves to get out of this type of mindset. This is why I try to surround myself with people who also are part of marginalized communities that have to contend with these things, and so that I get to learn from them. Men, are you having more platonic relationships with women? Especially if you're a cis straight man, are you doing that so that you can learn? Maybe, just maybe, these type of thoughts that I have, I might need to adjust them a little bit. And so it's a work for all of us, right? To really have a true, proper perspective when it comes to people of different marginalized groups. Also, are you friends with, or have you made friends with somebody who's disabled? Right? Because we may have internalized ableism. See what I mean? So this is a part of loving your community, right? Because part of loving your community means understanding the people around you, even if they're different. So yeah. So thank you so very much for that. Yepex says, I'm not expecting anything different from Cornel West. Remember, he told us to vote for Joe Biden. Thanks for that. Good morning. Oh, wait. Good morning, Gamer for Life. Good to see you. Gamer said, I just woke up. A lot of us did. Welcome. Good morning to you. Jam Mom coming in says, peace. All right. Thank you so very much for that. We need critical thinking, says Atlanta citizens push back Dr. West for president. Yeah, that's pretty much the title. And I know some people were expecting Kamal Franklin to be on today, and he was going to be on. One of the reasons why he's not is because is pretty much one of the reasons for my topic today, talking about Cop City. And this is why I said Atlanta citizens push back. The thing is that Kamal Franklin is actually down there, and they are in a fight right now to combat Cop City, which I'll be talking about in the latter portion of this stream. But that is one of the reasons why. And he had to postpone because the fight is getting serious down there in Atlanta. And so for good reason, he is putting the fight against Cop City right now, which I applaud him for. And, I am, a little disappointed that we didn't have our conversation today, but he's fighting for something that is more important than coming on my channel right now. And so with that, I am wishing him, as well as all the organizers and the citizens that are fighting against Cop City, I wish them, massive success, because their success will be our success, because Cop City is something that we do not want in this country. Because if we truly do value freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, if we value our rights as citizens, then we will stand with the citizens that are fighting this militarization, further militarization of our police. And it's getting bad. So we're going to talk about Cop City and what it is, and what we can do in order to combat things like that happening in our cities as well. So what am I talking about today? I already alluded to it, but let's get the thumbnail so you guys can see. So, Dr. West for president? Say it ain't so. Really? And then we're going to be talking about Stop Cop City, which is pressing in the news today. So, I talked to Dr. West a couple times on RBN. And I kind of thought about it. I was just like, would he run for president? And if he did run for president, through whom? Like, would he do independent, third party. If third party, which third party? There's a few. Would he run as a Democrat? I sure as hell know he wouldn't run for as a Republican. Even though he's had surprisingly good rapport with people like Tucker Carlson. I remember specifically I should have looked that up, but there was a video where Tucker Carlson had Dr. Cornel West on, and Dr. Cornel West was actually talking about socialism. And by the end of his explanation, Tucker Carlson said, by this explanation, I would be okay with becoming a socialist. That was from Tucker Carlson, the far right winger that everybody, on the left, does not like, which he has some extremely problematic views to me. Is like, wow, if that's what socialism is, I'm okay with that. What? So yeah. Let me just show it. Let's just show the campaign video. Hang on, let me make sure. Yeah. This is going to be interesting, y'all. I was shocked. Let's go.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all. De-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangsters not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
I'm going to say this. yesterday. Bring. Hey, Savvy, what's going on? Hey, JB, isn't that crazy? I know. That's crazy, right? Yeah. What is everybody going to do? I don't know. There's some people that went behind Marianne. There's some people that went behind RFK Jr. What are they going to do now? Because a lot of them love Dr. Cornel West, but they already threw their support behind him. What a conundrum. That was the conversation between me and Savvy Savage yesterday. We were just like, we were laughing our behinds off. We were laughing because we were like, after what Marianne Williamson said about on RBN about Palestinians, about a two-state solution, after the cluster F of what RFK Jr. did regarding, Palestinian rights and what he said about, the aspirations of Palestinians. After all that, now you have somebody who comes in the race who has a way more decent, at least, policy regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. And now he jumps into the race. And now you got all these people that talk about how much they love him. And they already endorsed people who are running in the Democratic Party. And now you have somebody who is progressive. And he's running outside the duopoly. Oh my goodness. What are they to do? It is hilarious to me right now. And there's a couple of concerns that I have that I'm going to bring up. But the fact that Dr. I can't. Oh. This is crazy. Yo. Okay. So Dr. Cornel West is running for president. Now, he's running under the Movement for People's Party, the MPP. Now, here is my thing, my concern. The People's Party has been, have some problematic things that have happened in the past. They're a fairly young third party, but when it comes to the issues regarding anti-blackness within, with volunteers, which was talked about by some volunteers on independent media. It's been talked about on RBN. It's been brought up on Rising. As well as the allegations, the sexual assault allegations from the chair, Nick Brana. So because of those things and the fact that it has no ballot access, or I think it has only ballot access in 3 states, that is a concern when it comes to MPP, Movement for People's Party. And so because of that, that's what makes a lot of people pause before giving any support to Dr. Cornel West. As you all know, I don't support anybody. Even after his announcement, I still don't support anybody running for president right now. I'm not going to be lending my platform to support any particular person, because ultimately we save us. There's not going to be a savior. I'm not saying that voting won't be an option. I'm saying that's like the very least of what any of us can do. So it's like, yeah, let me go over to my local precinct, bubble a couple of letters, and then leave. Whatever. The most important thing is the organizing and mutual aid work that needs to be done. That is what is important. What the people, like, for instance, who are organizing against Cop City, that's most important. And other different issues like that. But what, what do you guys think? Because there's these issues surrounding MPP, but at the same time, looking at different parties, like, for instance, how many people would be disappointed if he ran in the Democratic Party? Quite a few people. They would be disappointed. How many people will be disappointed if he ran in the Green Party? Now, I do have respect for the Green Party. However, I am learning that they have some issues themselves, right? And so because of that, there are issues with the Green Party too. So it feels like no matter what party you go into, there is going to be an issue. I do respect that he's running outside of duopoly. I actually respect that. But the MPP is like, Dr. West, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. You know what I mean? But at the same time, Blake Watson, this is the point I was going to bring up. Blake says MPP is a young unknown party that someone with West stature could easily transform and evolve. Here's my thing. How many people outside of the Twitter left know what MPP is? Like, some people will know, but the Green Party, like, hell, I remember the Green Party back when Ralph Nader was running, right? I remember seeing them in passing, but I didn't know that much about them. But here's the thing. A lot of people know who Dr. Cornel West is. Hell, the first time I saw Dr. Cornel West was when I was watching The Matrix Reloaded. Remember, he was in there? He was one of the council members. He said, comprehension is not a requisite of cooperation. So that's him way back then. He was on, oh my God, that talk show talking to Sister Soldier. You know what I'm saying? He's known, like, Black people know who Dr. Cornel West is. He's also one of them people that actually was very critical of Barack Obama. We know who he is. And so the thing is that then a lot of people don't know about MPP. So all the critiques about MPP, a lot of people don't know about. So could this be a means to turn MPP around? To clean things up even within the organization? I don't know. But I also see a lot of people getting behind him because he's not part of the Democratic Party. And if you guys haven't watched, go ahead and watch Dr. Umar Johnson, and how he, despite his problematic views on many different things that I have, he did say something that was important about Black people in the Democratic Party. And because, Black people constantly go with the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party really doesn't do anything for us. For someone like Dr. Cornel West, of his stature, especially within the Black community, is that an important point that he's running outside the Democratic Party? I think that's massive. Even some people who are part of the ADOS movement, African descendants of slaves, they seem to be more warming up to him. Even though Marianne Williamson has reparations on her platform. Dr. Cornel West pulls some weight. And so it feels to me that this is a shift that I did not see coming. I was like, wait a minute. I did not have this on my bingo card for this election season. And I remember saying this last week. In fact, I said this to Sabby last week. I said, this election season is going to be crazy. And now we're seeing shifts as we speak. And this is one of them. And so I don't know if MPPs, their image can be cleaned up, as tarnished as it is right now among the online left. But at the same time, I am happy he's running outside of duopoly. I just don't know if MPP was the right choice. But, we're going to see how his candidacy goes, and my question for him is, okay, do I think that he's going to win? Do I think he's going to win? No, I don't. But a lot of times there could be, and somebody as popular as him could push out a more salient conversation into the ether about, number one, Black people leaving the Democratic Party, because that's number one. Number two, this could be a salient conversation more about things like the rights of Palestinians, healthcare for all, student debt and getting rid of college tuition, period. Environmental issues, living wage. This could push these things out into the ether, so to speak. And without having the pressures of a Democratic Party on you to stay in a certain lane, this is an opportunity for Dr. Cornel West to go scorched earth. I said this back in 2020. I said Bernie needed to go scorched earth in order to truly get himself the nomination. And he didn't do it. This is an opportunity because Dr. Cornel West is not running in the duopoly. He could go scorched earth and straight mollywop him. I don't think he will. Because he's a nice guy. I think Dr. Cornel West is a little too nice. We need a jerk. He's not a jerk. He's just not. He's a very nice person. Very likable. Very likable. Despite some disagreements I have with him on certain policies, and I have some agreements with him on other policies, he's a very likable person. But the problem is that, I hope that this increases the conversation on socialism and communism. I hope this increases the conversation and makes more people consider turning away from the duopoly and really turning out into the streets. And when I say turning out into the streets, I don't mean just protests. I'm talking about actual organizing to create dual powers so that we can leave this capitalist system. Am I being naive? I don't know. Am I being overly optimistic? Maybe. But that's what it feels like. And so Dr. West running, it could be a sign, because remember when Ice Cube did the contract for Black America, and he went to Democrats and Republicans and was like, we shouldn't give neither of these parties any support until they actually do things for Black people, right? Then you got people like Dr. Umar Johnson saying the same thing, basically. And what have a lot of Black people been saying? You know, like, why are we in either one of these parties? They're not doing a damn thing for us. So why should we participate? And now you have a Black man that's well known within the Black community, that is progressive, that's actually running outside the duopoly. I honestly think that it's going to be significant. It's not going to be enough to win anything, because really the system is rigged. But just like with Bernie's run, and it woke a lot of us up, despite the huge disappointment that Bernie Sanders is and the failure that he is now, it did wake a lot of us up. We have to contend with that. We have to realize that. And now this could be a waking up for all of us that who aren't woke, to use the word, you know, in its proper context, to what is really going on regarding the corporate dictatorship that we have in this country. I see this as a net positive. You know what I mean? As far as the conversation. Does that make any sense? That's how I see it, as a net positive. But at the same time, I feel like the work has to be finished by us, meaning that we push it towards this conclusion where we say, see what he's saying? That things can be better? All right, let's go the route and how you can make things better yourself. Because he's not going to save you. They're not going to save you. Only we can do that. And so it's almost like planting a seed in everybody's mind at one big, massive moment. But then we take that football and we run it into the end zone. You know what I mean? And so it's almost like the little blurb in an article that kind of piques your interest, and then you read further. And we're the body of that article, right? He's the blurb. And while it's not really going to, I would hope that it could change things. I don't think it will with him as a president, because the system, they'll JFK him. Because the system does not allow people for like him. Even though I'm further to the left than him, they still won't allow for people like him. Mm-mm. No. So he will never become president. Even though he's not as further to the left that I would like. Because the system needs to be changed. And the system, the only way the system will change is through the people. And this means organizing and building community with each other outside of the electoral system in order to make something better. So, while that being said, like I said, the conversation can open up better conversations with our neighbors, with our people in our community. Now, these are some of the things that he's bringing up. So this is on his website, his campaign website. I do like this quote, "Justice is what love looks like in public." I do like that quote. Now, here is the policies that I have looked at. I try to go deeper, but there aren't any links to expand on these policies yet. He just announced yesterday. So this website is very fresh. So create a true democracy. It says clean out government corruption and create a true democracy. Get money out of politics and ban corporate lobbying, enact term limits in Congress, and switch to hand-counted paper ballots. So starts off good. You know, you need to expand more on these things, of course. But this is something that needs to be brought up. And the thing is, everybody talks about this. Everybody talks about it, but they keep, a lot of people keep voting for the duopoly who don't want to do this. And then on top of it, the people who actually don't want these things and don't vote for the duopoly, they sit out. And, the thing is that the system needs to be changed. And in order to really do it, more revolutionary tactics need to be employed, like organizing and building, a dual power. For people to talk about, which is good. Revitalize our economy, says guarantee quality education, housing, and a living wage and paid leave to all, curb inflation, support unions, and expand Social Security, fix our infrastructure, and forgive all student debt. Now, this is also a really good thing. So this actually pushed this more out into the conversation. We are experiencing now some of the largest support for unions in decades. And so, that it could be a very good thing for us to, for us to put that more in the ether of people having more say over their workplaces and more power. Now, I, for one, am more supportive of worker co-ops and workers owning the means of production. Remember, I'm a socialist. Unionization is in the right direction. So if this, helps us get into the right direction as far as the national conversation, I'm all for it. So then when people go, oh, unions, I'll take it even further. Let's start having more worker co-ops, right? Just like people saying, oh, Medicare for all. Great. I'll take it even further. Let's nationalize our healthcare system completely. Take it further. Use this as a platform to take it further, because people will be talking about this, but when people like him speak out, use his message as a platform to, okay, look, I'm not just going to give you one rose. I'm going to give you a dozen roses. I'm not going to give you just a short stack of pancakes. I'm going to give you a tall stack. You know what I'm saying? He takes an inch, you give people a mile, right? So it's like you're using this as a conversation piece. You know what I mean? That's basically what I mean. Now, the next one is Medicare for all. It says guaranteed health care to all guarantee healthcare to all like every other major country on earth. Ensure comprehensive care, including dental, vision, hearing, mental, substance abuse, and long term. Lower drug prices and abolish medical debt. So this is also going to put the medical debt conversation, right? Because a lot of people were talking about student debt, but let's talk about medical debt too, right? So that's going to be in the conversation. And use this to say, look, this system wants to keep these things in place. Use this as a conversation piece. And the wars. Bring our troops home and invest those trillions in war dollars into American communities. Support veterans. Stop all foreign military aid. Close the bases. Close the bases. That's a really good one. Disband NATO. That's another big one. And ban nuclear weapons globally. So, look, this is a great conversation piece to say that how this terrible the system is. We have nearly 1,000 bases around the country, over 800 bases around the world. Why do we need all these bases? And why are we spending so much on military? We're spending almost $1 trillion on our military annually. It says expand civil liberties, guarantee equal rights to all Americans, restore free speech, protect choice, stop CBDCs, regulate AI, and break up big tech. So these are some of the things that a lot of people have talked about, especially like, for instance, they were trying to talk about the TikTok ban. And the thing is, like, that's also a free speech issue, right? So this is also stuff that you can bring into the conversation regarding why we need to come together as communities to really create a new system that does not depend on capitalism. And of course, like I said, we know that it's not going to happen through, the run for president, but this can be a conversation piece. Protect the environment, clean up pollution in our food, water, and air, tackle climate change, and shift to I can't talk today. Regenerative agriculture, remove oil and gas subsidies and drilling on public lands, and invest in clean energy, because these, especially these oil companies, these fossil fuel companies, own part of our government. And so, of course, and the banks own the other part. So you can use this to talk about how the corruption of the system. So, even though, he doesn't expand upon these 6 things are basically going to be the crux of his candidacy. And the thing is, they use it as a conversation piece to push things even further. Because honestly, this is what is necessary for us, is to push the conversation further. Jessica Mister says, no, abolish the police. Unfortunately, this is why I say he's not as further left as I am. And, like, for instance, take out the militarization of police. This is why we have to push the conversation further. Right? That's what I mean. So Dr. Cornel West running is going to be an interesting thing. Yeah, I think that he he means well. And, I think, in a democracy, anybody, who wants to run, runs. I just don't have faith in the system, because in my opinion, I mean, all those policies are very moderate. Yeah. They're not policies that really see me, because I'm further to the left than that. And I think that we can actually do better than that. But like I said, steps in the right direction. And some people will go, well, you're not going to have 100% everything that you want in a president. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But he's still running in a system that's corrupt. This is why it's like, okay, voting for president is like being in a room. Voting for president in this system is like being in a room where somebody pooped on the floor. And for now, voting for president is like taking potpourri or, some aerosol spray and spraying the air just so that you can get the stink out of the room. But you have to get rid of the poop first in order to really alleviate the problem. Voting for president is just spraying the spray to get rid of the smell temporarily. It's not really going to solve the problem, right? Solving the problem really is actually getting the poop off the floor and cleaning the area and throwing the poop away so that the smell is gone permanently. The thing is that I say, get the poop off the floor, clean up the area, then spray some aerosol spray, But the main thing is cleaning up the area. That's the primary thing we need to do. And unfortunately, we have been conditioned to just spray, 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 but the shit is still there. And you can spray as many times you want, but it's going to wear off. And what's going to be left? Shit. So that's how I look at it. And so, that's why it's important for us to get the cleanup work first. Because once you start the cleanup work, then everything else will fall into place. Does that make sense? Does that analogy make sense? I know it's a little gruesome, but that's what I mean. And so this is why organizing your communities, performing, mutual aid. We're trying to start these. We're in the process of starting the chapters with RBN. And this is just an example for you to do if you're involved in any type of mutual aid organizations that help out your community so that the community does not need to go to the banks, does not need to go to these institutions which keep us down. If you can teach people some stuff without them having to participate in these college systems so that they can learn some stuff, great, cool, excellent, do it. Get people away from utilizing the system so that they can have something better for themselves. You know what I mean? Because this system is the problem. It's not a problem, it's the problem. So yeah. So use these policies as a conversation piece in order to shift the focus even further to a more egalitarian system. That's what I mean. Gosh, yeah. So I'm going to go to the chat really quick so that we can talk more about this. And then we'll move on to the next story. All right. So, y'all been talking. I'm telling you. All right. All right. So, we need critical thinking says, I don't vote. Good third party thinking that we have any sort of chance of winning. I register and vote and more for a good third party for the information wars and as an FU to the unit party. Yeah, I mean, I vote third party. And I know that it's not going to win, but the thing is that it introduces these ideas into the conversation, which is good. But at the same time, and yeah, I do spray, some of that spray, as it were, but I'm going to be, I'm trying to focus on the cleanup more than just spraying, the aerosol spray to, clean the air. Actually, yeah, it's like spraying this and trying to clear up the air, but and that wasn't an advertisement for Febreze. I wouldn't dare. Hey, it's cheap. I got it. Blake Watson says MPP is a young. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. RIP George Habash says he won't win either way. This is a chance to raise class consciousness and get a party at 5% on the debate stage. That's basically what I was been saying. You just said it a lot better, a lot more than I did. So thank you so very much. Gamer for Life says in some states in both third party, which is true. They do not allow it, which is why I said the system is the problem. Everybody talks about, oh man, we need ranked choice voting, we need star voting, we need to get out of this uniparty. The thing is that it's part of the system. That's why I don't think he'll win. And on top of it, I do think that a huge amount of Black people are going to be awakened, which is good. But this is why people like myself and a lot of us, especially Black people in this media space, need to use that as a way to build class consciousness among us. Because let's be real. Whatever happens in the Black community, when we make it popular, oh, baby, it's popping. When we make it popular, oh, right? Right? Case in point, woke. So, all the things that we have basic, like twerking. Twerking was in the Black community. Now you have young white women making classes and teaching rich women how to twerk in classes. But who popularized it? Who was doing it? Right? The long nails? Who popularized that? So if we can popularize these trends, what about more class consciousness? What about the concrete things that actually will help us better? So that's the thing. Use this as a way to build class consciousness, as George Habash said. The Jam Mom comes in saying the political discourse will benefit from his voice being in the center of conversation. That yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Hen Steve said this could be very good, but it could also be very bad if he does a Bernie. Ooh, that would be even harder to overcome. I'm watching for now. Yeah. And as a person in the independent media space, my duty is to observe and report. I observe and I report back to y'all. That's what I'm going to be doing. But yeah. Serena Sawyer says, why go through MPP? Surely he knew about the controversy, and I'm worried that's what corporate and PMC news will focus on rather than the platform. Serena. Girl, I got to take a sip of that one. Oh, you hit a point. Because, yeah, they will focus on the issues surrounding MPP. Surrounding MPP and I think there's their Slack, how they treated Black people. Well, some members of MPP, how, volunteers were treating Black people. And then the issues surrounding Nick Brana. Yeah, boy, I'm telling you. Yeah. Actually, I count on it happening. I count on a snake to be a snake. Right? Yeah, the corporate media is going to harp on that. That's the issue. It's going to be an uphill battle for him. That's for sure. And that's a great question, Serena. Damn. A 1 and a 2. Donahue. Yes, he was on Donahue. I was forgetting the name. Thank you so much for a 1 and a 2. Yeah, he was on Donahue, and he was actually talking, and there was kind of an interesting thing between him and Sister Soldier, how Sister Soldier was basically saying, you're not going far enough, right? And so there was a, kind of a contention between Dr. Cornel West and Sister Soldier. And so I think that's my contention is, though I respect a lot of his views, I do have some disagreements with him, and I don't think he goes far enough. So, and plus he's running in this system, which, it raises great conversation and class consciousness, but it's not missed upon me that it will not be successful because we literally have to change the system first. But yeah, thank you so very much. Mouse SF says, Morpheus for head of Morpheus for Department of Defense. Yes, zombie in the air. My internet is not the best at this moment. Creative Experiment says Cornel West can't exercise Nick Brana's demon soul. Creative Experiments, don't you know no good? Don't you know no good? Zombie in the air says I think I'm just going to reserve judgment on this one. Yeah, you're gonna have to just wait and see. I'm just gonna observe and report. That's pretty much what I'm doing. Modern Retro Radio says Cornel West told us to hold our nose and vote for Joe Biden in 2020. West is not a serious candidate. He's a sheepdog, just like AOC, Bernie, Warren, and the Fraud Squad, and all the others. He did tell us that. That's another strike against him. He did tell us that. So, yeah, that's the one thing. Look, my thing is, he needs to say my bad for that one. My apologies. Because what we've been saying is that Biden and Trump are really just two sides of the same coin. There's no difference between them. And so telling us to vote for Biden, you might as well have told us to vote for Trump. And if you told us to vote for Trump, you might as well have told us to vote for Biden. They're the same person. Just one is more orange than the other. That's it. That's a tough critique, Modern Retro Radio, but I don't know, man. I can't even argue against it. That's why I say use the platform as a means to talk about these things to other people, you know, in order to help them to organize for their own community, which is more valuable than ever, you know, knocking on doors or doing phone banking for any politician. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah. All one same, or is it alone same? Either way. Hi. What's not to like? Like for instance, don't see anything about defunding the police. And then honestly, I would have, if I were running for president, one of my things in my platform would be to encourage and strengthen worker co-ops. And there'll be a few other things as well. I can't think of it at this moment, but yeah. But I would go further. I would put in a full nationalization of our healthcare system. If I'm going to go, I'm going to swing for the fence. I'm going to swing for the fence and leave no crumbs. I'm just going to I'm going to hit as hard as I possibly can. Right? And then utilize in the media. So yesterday, what Dr. West did was he went on Russell Brand and announced. Russell Brand has over 6 million subs. And so, and on top of that, he's cool with Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan has over 10 million listeners. So I'm going to be real with you. If I were Dr. West, I would have went even further left than what I believe. I would have went even further to the left. But he didn't. So, but yeah. RIP George Hashbash says RFK doesn't want to do jack to help the environment. Yeah. I don't know. I have to read it. I have to read his platform, but from what I heard, it's not really much on it. What he says, attacks are to be expected. If West starts polling above 5%, the golden number for third parties, it'll go into overdrive, like how attacks on Jill Stein went up in 2016. I do have a fear for Dr. West. I do fear for him a little bit because they arrested Dr. Jill Stein and held her so that she couldn't participate in the debate. And they will do that. They will do stuff like that. Humanitarian Classicide says, other than saying he and his platform or bigger and are more important than this, that the opportunity to spread socialist and revolutionary ideas outweighs. Yeah, that's basically what I was saying too. Thank you so very much for that. We need critical thinking says, looking forward to the Greens and the Peace and Freedom Party, aka PSL. POTUS candidates will be this cycle. Are they even running a presidential candidate? Because look, we need critical thinking. Let's talk. So here's my question. If the Green Party is serious about running a presidential candidate, why haven't they started now? Because from a strategic perspective, with the Green Party, I would have started probably in April. I would have started if I would have had a presidential candidate and put him out there in April. But they don't have anybody yet. So it's like, what are you guys going to wait for? Are you guys going to wait till 2024? Right in January to announce? Because if you guys want to get somebody that's successful, y'all got to get them out on the ground. Kneel. I got to say it like, I got to use my Jersey accent. You got to get that person out. Kneel. Not a few months from, no. It'll be too late by then. PSL and Green Party, y'all need to get on it. How in the hell y'all going to announce after MPP? How long have y'all been in this? Come on now. And look, here's the thing. I have no, I know that neither one of them are going to win, but the more people that are running that are saying things similar or to the left of Dr. West, the bigger the conversation. The bigger, opportunity that we have to really talk, to people about class consciousness and, building community in order to organize so that we can get rid of this ugly ass system. But they're not doing it. It's like, what are y'all waiting for? Good to see you, Sebastiano. All right. And CBC voter, good to see you. Cobra Commander says, I'm willing to give anyone power who cares about people. Don't care if you're a communist or made bad tweets 11 years ago. Jesco Mister says, land back. Yes, that's another one. That's another policy that I think that should be put out there. Land back is actually very important, especially to our indigenous people, our indigenous siblings out there. They need their land back, Janice Anderson says, while there are some red flags with West candidacy, it is more about getting a third party to over 5% of that popular vote to get the third party automatic ballot access for the next election cycle. That's true too. All right, so I'm going to go to the next story because I talked about this long enough. And this is going to be very important. By the way, if you guys have not, please make sure to like the stream if you have not already. Also, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't as well. And if you guys would like to, you guys can also go to my Patreon as well. Oh, I forgot. Thank you for the super chat, Reality Revolution. Reality Revolution says, why nobody care about the unbelievable laptop? Malia Obama. I don't know what that's about. I have to look into that. But Malia Obama and a laptop? I have no idea. But thank you so very much for that. Let's check on The Rock. You have Rory O'Neal and The Rock fans saying, hi, JB. Good to see you, Rory O'Neal. Thank you so very much. Good to see you. All right. I see you slip in, SG. Good to see you. All right. So what's next? Stop Cop City. We're going to find out what it is and why we need to stop. Cop City. It was explained by Kamal Franklin, and I am going to share what the explanation of Cop City is, and then share some details with you as well. And it is very important that you guys know what this is, because this can happen. It's something that can happen to any city within us, and this is going to affect us as a nation. So, and Kamal Franklin will be on next week, so look forward to that. But this is what the explanation of Cop City is.
Cop City is an idea that came after the 2020 uprisings by the city of Atlanta, the Atlanta Police Department, and the Atlanta Foundation, Atlanta Police Foundation. The idea basically is that they want to develop a militarized police base that's right next to a Black and brown working class community. And by building this space, they want to cut down over 100 acres of forest. They want to develop an area where there's a room for explosives testing, over 12 firing ranges, a place where there's a Black Hawk helicopter landing pad, a training center for them to practice crowd control. We should also mention that they are engaged in international training with the Israeli police. And so we think this project really is the beginning of a militarized police base here in Atlanta, which will be the largest facility of its kind in the country. And the reason for doing this, coming out of the uprisings, we believe, is to stop movement politics and movement building in Atlanta, to coordinate efforts across the country with other police departments and now internationally to stop movement building. And we think this is going to be further sort of terroristic action on Black and brown communities by a police state. Cop City is
So that's the breakdown of what Cop City was. And I can't wait to have Kamal Franklin on next week. We're going to be talking more about his evolution and things like that. And then we're going to touch on, as well as the further issues surrounding Cop City that have actually been happening today. That is really, it's ever changing on the ground as we speak in Atlanta. So if you guys did not know about Cop City, this is basically what it is. And I just want to break down just a little bit about the things that he's saying, just to expound on the seriousness of Cop City.
Cop City is an idea that came after the 2020 uprisings by the city of Atlanta. Yeah.
So if anybody remembers, if you remember the protests after the murder and assassination of George Floyd by the hands of police, this was a huge wake-up call to a couple people. It was a huge wake-up call to those of us as citizens to see that how much power we really have in numbers. And this is also a huge wake-up call to the powers that be, the corporate dictators, right? And so because of the corporate dictators, they saw this as dangerous to them because they don't want people to organize like this. Let's see. And so let me see. Okay. Oop. So I'm going to show you guys the corporations that are behind or supporting Cop City as well. All right. So you guys can see this. These are the corporations that are really behind Cop City. Oops. I wanted to put that down. What's that? Okay. Okay. So we can actually have all the names. Then I will do this. Okay. So as you can see, these are the corporations that are behind Cop City that are helping them out. So you have Wells Fargo, Amazon, and a lot of people, a lot of right wingers are like, oh my God, Chick-fil-A, they're participating in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to get rid of them. Chick-fil-A, look, Chick-fil-A is participating in increasing militarized police. They are not on the left. People need to wake up. Delta Airlines, UPS. By the way, there might be, if UPS does not agree with the Teamsters, if they don't come to an agreement with the Teamsters, then the Teamsters and the unions for UPS are going to be having a massive strike beginning on August 1st. And that strike will be over 350,000 UPS workers. It's going to be major. So that's just a point of just to let you guys know. Home Depot, Inspire Brands, right? Georgia State University, the Atlanta Hawks, and State Farm Arena. Accent Enterprises, previously Taser, of course. Waffle House, as many people from prisons that they employ, they're behind this. And then JP Morgan Chase. They're all in league with the Atlanta Police Foundation. So that just lets you know that the corporate dictators are behind this. Now, let's go back to the video to break it down a little bit further.
The Atlanta Police Department and the Atlanta Foundation, Atlanta Police Foundation. The idea basically is that they want to develop a militarized police base that's right next to a Black and brown working class community. And by
so to add insult to injury, is right next to us, basically. And so not only are we already disproportionately being targeted by them, but now they're building, the police base right next to our community in front of us. Like, that's like building a slaughterhouse, next to a wildlife refuge for cattle. You know what I'm saying? Crazy, man. Let's continue.
By building this space, they want to cut down over 100 acres of forest. They want to develop an area where there's a room for explosives testing, over 12 firing ranges. a place where there's a Black Hawk helicopter landing pad, a training center for them to practice crowd control. We should also mention that they are engaged in international training with the Israeli police. And so we think this project really is the beginning of a militarized police base.
So if anybody knows what's going on with the Palestinians in Gaza and how the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, actually treats the Palestinians, and the police are being trained by them, then you know that this is bad. This is very bad. And the fact is that, and I wrote this down because this thought came to my head. What is the difference between the military and the police? It's just a name. Imperialism is now in the US. So it's now how we had imperialism outside the US is come inward now. What they did to people in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, many other countries is going to happen in our borders. The only difference is that the soldiers will be wearing badges. This is imperialism fulfilled. That's what's happening. People would say, "Oh, they would never use the U.S. They would never use the U.S. military against civilians." They're turning the police into a military against civilians. They would never do that. They're doing it now. They're doing it now. So to all those people that got the "don't tread on me" flags, oh no, this is tyranny, don't tread on me. Why aren't you out at Cop City saying stop Cop City? Why aren't you out there? Y'all, come on. All you right-wingers that talk about, oh, well, we need to have a militia in order to stop the tyranny, just in case it happens. It's happening in front of you. It's happening. And some of y'all support this? Wait, hold up. Wait. Some of y'all support this. Y'all talk about tyranny and you support this? Get the out of here, man. Y'all talking about y'all are against tyranny and y'all literally see it happening in front of your face. Y'all unserious, man. You got people out there with no weapons whatsoever that are defending it. The soy boys are actually out there defending and fighting tyranny. The soy boy, you guys gonna allow the soy boys to beat you guys at defending the country against tyranny? Is that how it is? Yeah, that's right. The soy boys got bigger balls than you. Put your money where your mouth is. Go ahead and defend them. You guys love hunting, fishing, all that stuff. They're taking that away from y'all. That area that's known as the lungs of Atlanta and Georgia, they're taking that away, man. Come on now. Tyranny's knocking at your door. What you gonna do? Let's defend these protesters that are going against Cop City. Defend them. Some of you guys fought in the military. You said you will protect and defend the Constitution, against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Well, it is domestic. Man.
here in Atlanta, which will be the largest facility of its kind in the country. And the reason for doing this, coming out of the uprisings, we believe, is to stop movement politics and movement building in Atlanta, to coordinate efforts across the country with other police departments and now internationally to stop.
To coordinate with other police departments. This means that they will be coming to a police department near you. So whenever you're trying to organize, whenever you're trying to build dual power, this will be the training facility that they will use in order to stop you from changing the system. This is what Cop City is. Fascism, man.
Stop movement building. And we think this is going to be further sort of terroristic action on Black and brown communities by a police state.
So yeah, further police state. Now, let's go into a little bit more of the explanation. This is at stopcop.city. And it says no police military base in Weelaunee Forest. So the city of Atlanta has released 381 acres of Weelaunee Forest, stolen Muskogee land, to the Atlanta Police Foundation for a police military facility funded by corporations. Cop City will never be built. Hashtag Stop Cop City. Says, and it gives the explanation. And is a mock city to practice urban warfare, dozens of shooting ranges, and a Black Hawk helicopter landing pad. Says making Atlanta the most surveilled city in the United States. Now, by the way, Atlanta is a black city, so of course it's going to be the most surveilled. Says the Atlanta Police Foundation funds Operation Shield, a citywide network of nearly 11,000 surveillance cameras and license plate readers that has only expanded the round-the-clock monitoring of Black Atlantans. The Atlanta Police Foundation spent more than $2.6 million, nearly one-third of its reported 2017 expenses, on the Operation Shield surveillance program, eclipsing other expenses such as the At Promise Youth Initiative, a youth center that puts Black children and their families in direct contact with law enforcement. Both Operation Shield and At Promise Youth Initiative are part of the multi-million-dollar West Side Security Plan to increase police presence in the predominantly Black neighborhoods in Atlanta's West Side, a gentrification pressure area. Says in direct contact with law enforcement. In a 2019 report by the technology research firm Comparitech ranked Atlanta as the most surveilled city in the United States in terms of cameras per capita, 66. Let's see. The ACLU has raised concerns that video surveillance has not been proven effective, citing a study that noted that because of discriminatory targeting, Black people were between 1.5 and 2.5 times more likely to be surveilled than one would expect from their presence in the population. Operation Shield relies on private funding and encourages private businesses to connect their cameras with police through a video surveillance hub that blankets Atlanta business districts. Atlanta Police Foundation is also working with Atlanta Police Department on an expanded program called Operation Aware, a predictive policing platform and criminal analytics software partnership with Microsoft to link the Operation Shield surveillance networks to databases of recently scanned license plates, vehicle registration records, and individual criminal records to start suggesting possible suspects almost automatically in a real-time crime center. Wasn't there a movie about this? What? Wait, wasn't it called Minority Report? Wasn't there a movie about this? About arresting people for crimes that they didn't even commit yet? Are y'all eyes open yet? Do you see? Do you see it now? Yo, we got to talk. We got to talk. All right, let's go to the next one. It says predictive crime algorithms make racially biased policing even worse. Hello, AI. According to a 2017 study by Cornell University, predictive policing software may spark feedback loops where police are repeatedly sent back to the same neighborhoods regardless of true crime rate. Using surveillance and crime algorithms to almost automatically identify suspects, increase unwarranted stops and searches, police presence in majority Black neighborhoods, and police brutality against Black people. By design, the Atlanta Police Foundation's Operation Shield and Operation Aware programs increase police presence and public space surveillance in already over-policed communities. Instead of supporting community-based public safety initiatives that keep people safe, police foundations directly donate or help police departments pay for surveillance software and equipment, military weapons, SWAT team equipment, and other tools that are used to terrorize Black people. By expanding police surveillance in Atlanta, the Atlanta Police Foundation has also expanded operating costs for the city. The Atlanta Police Foundation paid for the cameras and the first 3 years of maintenance, leaving Atlanta on the hook for ongoing costs. This leads to contracting and oversight issues. When the police department and city did not immediately cover subsequent building and maintenance of the cameras, up to 250 cameras were left dead for months. Corporate involvement in Atlanta police have left communities two flawed options: harm from over-surveillance or a waste of taxpayer dollars, neither of which ensures public safety. And so this is deeply important. This is why Cop City is so dangerous. I'm going to put the link in the chat so you guys will have that, because this is deeply important, because this will be a center that is used across the nation in order to fight against you. That's what this is. So I'm sharing it into the chats. All right. So there was a hearing in Atlanta yesterday. And so I'm going to be showing some of the results from people in Atlanta. And you guys know last week I had on Chuck Modiano, journalist Chuck Modiano, and he actually shared video footage, raw video footage from the people coming in to City Council in Atlanta. So let's take a look there.
Cop City will never be built. 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 Cop City will never be built.
So they're saying Cop City will never be built. And these are all the citizens, right? But I want you guys to take a look. I'm going to pause it at a certain point. I want you guys to see.
Cop City will never be built.
All those people up there are cops. They're all surrounding, looking at the citizens. Look at it. Look, all those cops. Are they there for safety? Or are they there to intimidate? You tell me. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like intimidation. They will use intimidation tactics. He also says, let us speak. Let us speak. Hundreds waiting in line are told they may not be able to speak. This doesn't include hundreds more in line outside around the block, not allowed into the building. If you didn't arrive an hour early, you're likely not getting inside the building. So the line is out the building for city council. And so there's more. And Chuck Modiano is reporting that chant has been going, that went on for 15 minutes. Let's go here. So they're chanting, let them in. Whoo, boy. This is massive. And the thing is that that city does not, the city and the citizens do not want it. But these corporations and the politicians are pushing for this. And this just shows that the system is against its own people. Now, there is a clip that I want to play from Democracy Now! And they're also talking about it. And they've actually doubled the amount of money for Cop City. Let's get into it.
Turnout at a city council meeting Monday as thousands lined up to voice their opposition to the construction of a massive police training facility known as Cop City. Atlanta police enforced enhanced security as people signed up to participate in a public comment session ahead of a vote to approve $30 million in additional funding for Cop City, bringing the total to $67 million, more than double the original estimate. It would be the largest police training facility in the country. This comes after an Atlanta police SWAT team, guns drawn, raided the Atlanta Solidarity Fund last Wednesday and arrested 3 people who'd been raising money to bail out protesters opposed to Cop City, charging them with money laundering and charity fraud. Georgia Democratic Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock criticized the arrests in a statement Sunday, saying, quote, "While we still don't have all the details, as a pastor who's long been engaged in justice work, I'm concerned by what we know about last Wednesday's show of force against the organizers of an Atlanta bail fund and the questions it raises," he said. Those arrests come as 42 protesters face charges including domestic terrorism for opposing Cop City, and after Atlanta police shot dead the environmental activist Manuel Tortuguita Terán in January. An autopsy shows they were sitting with their hands raised up in front of their body when police shot them 57 times. This is Muskogee Indigenous leader Neko Chabon addressing the Atlanta City Council on Monday.
I am a part of the Methodist structure. I have been a part of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. I have been with conversations of human rights all across the world. I have walked with refugee camps in other parts and other nations of Indigenous peoples. I've seen situations just like what we're going through here in other countries. I've seen things going on where people have been killed, just like what we're trying to say should never happen here.
Remember what I said about imperialism is now inside the United States? What did you just say about refugees in other countries? Forever wars are now in our borders.
All over the world, and I don't want that to increase. Every time in these countries I shared with them, no matter what, how you slice it, the increasing of more militarized mechanism never establishes a peaceful society, no matter what. It never accomplishes what your hopes, what your arguments are. In fact, it does quite the opposite. In fact, our community, we are already living through the living proof of that at this moment. Today, I think it's obvious. I don't support Cop City.
Monday's Atlanta City Council meeting started in the afternoon and continued for nearly 15 hours until about 5 a.m. this morning. At one point, protesters broke out in song as public comment continued.
Recess has expired.
So I'm just going to skip the singing part. Let me see.
The Atlanta City Council voted 11-4 to fund the Cop City facility. For more, we go to Atlanta for an update. Marlon Counts is with us, an organizer with the Atlanta Solidarity Fund, who was one of the 3 people arrested last Wednesday and just spent 4 days in jail. Also with us, one of the first to speak during Monday's public comment session, Reverend James Woodall. He's a public policy associate at the Southern Center for Human Rights and co-author of Wired for Racism: How Evolution and Faith Challenge Racial Idolatry. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Reverend Woodall, let's begin with you. When you arrived at the Atlanta City Hall to give your public comment, can you talk about the different level of security and protocol to enter the premises that you'd ever experienced before? Just describe the scene for us and then what you said.
Most definitely. Well, first, let me start by saying thank you for having us on the show today. And when we entered Atlanta City Hall, we were met with bomb dogs. We were met with officers donning AR-15s. We had folks in riot gear. We saw a heightened level of security, both in protocol, meaning when we entered into the city hall, we couldn't even bring in food or water. And people were planning to be there literally all day and all night. And to not even be able to bring in Gatorade, I had to throw my Gatorade out and had to walk out of the city hall, throw it out, and then come back in. And you know, it took a miracle, essentially, to be able to even bring pizza in towards the latter portions of the afternoon and into the evening. And we saw law enforcement officers really on every single level of the city hall in the inside of the atrium. And so I had never seen that kind of activity in which our law enforcement response would essentially, criminalize in some ways what we were trying to do, which was to lift up the voice of the people.
So it's intimidation, right? That's what it is. It's intimidation to force you to not exercise your right. That's what it is. Let's be real. A lot of people will be like, oh, well, they were just trying to keep things safe. Like, no, they weren't. No. It's intimidation, point blank, period. Now, I'm not going to play this entire thing, but one of the things that I want to go to is how the loss of democracy is actually bipartisan. Let me go to, let me see. We can go right there. So let's go here and let's continue.
And this was a marathon meeting of the Atlanta City Council. Your response to the outcome and the vote, and did you get a sense that any members of the City Council were moved at all by the testimony?
Well, what I'll tell you is that that is a example and is indicative that our democracy has died. And the spirit of democracy has died because when the people show up and you see both parties, this isn't a red versus blue, Democrat versus Republican kind of issue. We saw Republicans come out in opposition. We saw libertarians come out in opposition. You saw Democrats come out in opposition. You saw people who are not affiliated with any of the above come out in opposition. And when you see elected officials choose the side, not of the people, right, not of justice and liberty for all, but when you see elected officials take the side of corporate executives and nonprofit leaders who seek to profit off of taxpayer dollars, right? What we should be talking about is charity fraud on behalf of the Atlantic Public Foundation because of what we've seen them do and how the numbers have just not added up. And so I'm concerned that our democracy is dead because our elected officials are not representing the people, regardless of who they vote for.
When it's bipartisan, that's how you know it's in the system. It's systemic. This is why we try to change the system. But the system will be violent. Whenever you try to change the system, it will use violent means in order to resist that change. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, if you guys get on Rockfin, you guys go to my channel on Rockfin, read it on my Rockfin channel. Go ahead. All right. I'm telling you right now, this is what it's about. It is a bipartisan push to take the intrinsic rights that we have as people away. Now, let me go. Let me see. I'll go to here. Actually, yeah. Let's go to here.
That's right. Because if this kind of police violence can be brought, even against organizers like us who, who do nothing more than make sure that activists have access to lawyers, who make sure that they.
So just to let you guys know, the Atlanta Solidarity Fund is organized by him and a couple other people, and they actually were raising money for bail funds for people who were arrested for protesting Cop City. And so they actually raided his home early in the morning so that they can put them under arrest.
They're able to make bail if they can't afford it themselves. If this kind of violence can be brought against people like us, who is safe in this city? And what does that mean for the right to protest and democracy?
Now, they basically went against the people who are trying to help people make bail. I'm going to share something with you guys. Any of you guys remember the video Okay. It says, if the penalty for a crime is a fine, then that law only exists for the lower class. This is from the video game. Based, right? Now think about that when they try to jail and arrest the people who are raising funds for people who are opposing Cop City. Now, they were providing an equalization so that the lower class in Atlanta doesn't have to do time for exercising their First Amendment right. So the powers that be and the police saw them as a threat. Make no mistake, if a rich benefactor was doing the same thing, that rich person would have been targeted as well. But we all know that the rich people wouldn't do such a thing largely because they benefit from this system. Now, I'll say this. I appreciate this white man using his privilege to raise funds to help out organizers and to fight against this carceral system that largely targets Black and brown people. And this is why solidarity and building coalitions is so important. Because someone like him, he could have just rested on his laurels and said, I'm a white guy, I can just, chill out, because they're not really going to target me that much. So guess what? You guys leave it for yourselves. But no, he's like, no, you know what? No, because once they go for them, they're going to come for me. And I'm not going to have it. Remember what they said? First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out before I was a communist. Then they came after the trade unionists, for I did not speak it out in socialist, because I did not speak out because I'm not a trade unionist or socialist. Remember that? Same thing, same idea. This is why building coalitions and solidarity is so important. Because if they're not going to come after you initially, that means they're going to come after you next. It's the same damn thing. And so when it comes to Cop City, this is deeply important. This is why we need to know more about it. Let's go. This is why I'm so, I can't wait to have Kamal Franklin on next week, but let's continue.
And Mona, what happened at your bail hearing on Friday? What was the judge's response to your arrest and the charges against the three of you?
Yeah, I mean, after days in jail, we finally got in front of a judge who confronted the allegations against us, the arrest warrants. And the judge very quickly acknowledged that the charges are baseless. They're nonsensical. We're being charged with charities fraud and money laundering. And the activities of our organization are completely legal. They're transparent. They're above board. We very carefully follow all laws and regulations related to our work because we know that we are in the crosshairs of many political forces. And the judge recognized this and fortunately issued us bail, which has been unusual in these protest cases, which are usually denied bail flat out. And I think this shows that the efforts of prosecutors to demonize organizers associated with the movement against Cop City are beginning to be exposed. They're beginning to become unraveled and shown to be what they are, which is malicious political prosecutions that have nothing to do with enforcing the law, keeping the public safe. What they really have to do with is bringing the force and violence of police and prosecutors to suppress a political movement, to suppress political speech.
I want people to realize this. Even prosecutors, many of them, are some of the oppressors in this. Many district attorneys and attorney generals, as well as judges, are complicit in allowing the police to do what they do. This is in service to the dictators and their corporations, which extract us from our environment unfairly, extract from us and our environment unfairly to enrich themselves. So who are the lackeys in this? It's not just the cops. It's the district attorneys, prosecutors, attorney generals. It's the city council members, mayor. It is systemic. This is why when I say it's systemic, I mean it, because it's going all the way up. So who are they? Who is their master? It's the corporate dictators. And they delegate to the people who are in government, this is what you need to do for us. And then they delegate to the police, which is basically the muscle of the mafia. And that muscle of the mafia basically inflicts their will upon the people in the surrounding neighborhood. And if you don't have money for protection, then they're gonna harass you. Think about it in mafia terms, right? If you don't have the money for the protection, guess what? They're gonna come after you. Who has the money for the protection? The corporate oligarchs, the corporate dictators, the people at the top. Who is getting harassed? Black, brown, and poor people. It's a mafia. This country is ran by mob bosses, and not formal mob bosses. Their mob is just the corporations. And we have to buy from them. We have to utilize them in order for us to live. This is why we need dual power outside of the system, so that we don't utilize them, so we can have a system that is different, that is better, that is egalitarian, that is equitable, that's equal. And they don't want that. And so they will use violent means in order to do it. Everybody talks about, oh, revolution is violent. The thing is, the violence is actually done, is put out by the system. And so when people fight back, that's all it is. It's just people defending themselves and fighting back. So when they shot Tortuguita, when they shot them, that was them saying, I don't care if you're doing it peaceful. We're going to get rid of you anyway. Dr. Martin Luther King, when he was leading those marches during the civil rights, they were wearing loafers. They were wearing very nice church clothes. They didn't have any weapons, and they still have violence against them. That's what it does. That's what the system does. The state perpetuates a violent act in order to keep you down so that you don't change it. When you utilize your freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom to assemble, Second Amendment rights, all that, guess what? They say, no, you have no rights here. And then guess what you do? You get eliminated. And the crazy part was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was actually trying to buy a gun, but they wouldn't allow him to register. He even saw, he was like, shoot, I'm gonna strap up because I need to protect myself. But they wouldn't allow him. He and Malcolm X actually, by the end, were together as far as ideology. There was no real actual contention between them. That's just propaganda. So that's one of the things that we need to recognize. That's why it's so important to fight against this system. And you can do it just by communicating with your neighbors, building solidarity, teaching, using your, mutual aid. You could be teaching people things that, maybe they don't know. Hell, mutual aid could be, baking, or making food for somebody who, doesn't have food. You got to spend your own money. You get some food. You got a little extra food stamps. All right, use those food stamps, to buy some food for somebody. You know what I'm saying? Use your abilities. If you know how to work with computers, and somebody that needs, if you know how to like fix computers, and you have some spare computers, somebody that may need it, or an organization that may need it, donate it. Fix it and donate it. Do some free IT. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this is why, independent media is so important. I hope you guys liked the stream, and I hope you guys share, because these issues are so important. And the thing is that a lot of the corporate media they're not going to talk about this. And if they do, it's only because they're only going to take the side of the corporate dictators. They're only going to take the side of the police. They're not going to take the side of the people. And so they'll push this out as, like, for instance, some of them are saying, oh, well, it's just outside agitators that are coming to speak out against Cop City. No, it's not. And even if it's outside agitators, it's people that are going to be indirectly affected by Cop City in their own cities and towns. I live in Florida. I'm right below Georgia. Atlanta's not that far. You don't think that the OPD and Orange County Sheriff's Department is not going to utilize that against my neighborhood? I live in the hood, bro. They're gonna, oh my God. They're already out here all the time. Of course they're going to utilize it against people in me and my neighborhood. And you know who's not going to speak out about it? Maxwell Alejandro Frost. He's busy at a Paramore concert dancing. But he wouldn't dare speak out against this. In fact, he skipped town on supporting Palestinians. And now, guess what? he's basically down with, the Israeli lobby. So yeah, this is why it's so important to talk about these things, man. Let people know about Cop City, and let them know how it's going to be a disadvantage to them. Now, I'm going to play this right quick, because this gives you the real deal about Cop City. I appreciate this guy. This gentleman. Oh. Okay. I'm going to play this for y'all. And this is going to solidify everything. Okay? And this guy gets it.
I just realized what the intention of Cop City is. And I know a lot of us think it's like urban response, but specifically, Cop City's intention is to teach cops how to deal with protests on a large scale. To be more specific, and if you notice the size of Cop City, it's not a full size, 100,000 people protest. It's specifically enough to learn how to cut the head off the protest, because what is a protester's natural response when cops start swinging? To run. In the Marines, we are taught to attack the first third of a convoy and destroy that, because typically leadership is found in the first third of that convoy. The natural response for a human being, and therefore the most trained response for most forces, to include our army, is when you're cut off, go turn around and go back to where you came from. Regroup, and we'll figure out what to do after. The Marine Corps is one of the few forces that actually teaches if you're cut off, you treat that like you are the muscles around a wound, you close with and you destroy whoever attacked that unit. It is the fact that protests do not have a swarm response because we're typically peaceful. Most people attending a protest are not looking to engage with cops. They just want to be seen. They want to feel a part of a bigger message than just themselves. So the fact that we don't have a swarm response in our protests is something the police are going to train to respond to. They want to take that head off of that protest where most of the leaders, most of the excited people are. They want to isolate them, surround them, and torture them while everybody else is fleeing. There's no cameras, nobody to watch. Cop City is about teaching how to treat a protest like a convoy, like a military unit. That's what Cop City is about. Dear veterans, it's time to start getting busy. They're already doing all the planning and moving. What are you doing?
All enemies, foreign and domestic, right? All enemies, foreign and domestic. That's what it's about. So, yeah. Going to the chat. Thanks, Alex. That says JB dropping science in this stream. Thank you so much. Kilia Grigor says, great show today, JB. Very informative. I didn't know that much about this corporate fuckery. It's sinister, really. Deeply sinister, man. Deeply sinister. All right. Thank you so much to James Starks for the super sticker. I appreciate it much. Thank you so much. Thanks for the super chat. Roger Meadows says, I direct message you a brain breaker. I'm going to that now. What did you send me to break my brain, Roger? Roger's always breaking something. Oh, gosh. All right. So I think this has something. I think this is a different. Hold on. I think this is a different subject, but I can look at this a little bit later. Hang on. Let me see. Okay. Okay. I can talk about this another time. This is kind of having to do with the last story that I did with Dr. Cornel West running. That's actually a good point to look at. I can look at that later. But thank you so very much for that, Roger. Let me see. And then the local businesses. Yeah. I can probably read this though. This is interesting. Roger, do you want me to read this comment on I can probably read the comment though. Oh, that's about okay. That's something different. Okay. I can talk about that on another show, but that has to do with immigration. Okay, thank you so much, Roger. But yeah, so ultimately, it is very important for us, to focus on building community with one another, which is what I'm trying to do. Though I do have my physical and mental limitations. Mental limitations, both, exhaustion and bandwidth, things like that. So I think that's really important for us to get to, as far as, moving towards a better system. And so I think that, we need to do that as well. Let's go a little bit more in the chat. Miguel H says, we built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. Kendall's Boat says, damn, this guy has so scary insight. Yeah, right? But that's what, veterans, man. A lot of these veterans, man, they know, man. This is why it's good to have them on, on your team. We need critical thinking says, I bet Cop City teach cops how to be undercover agent provocateurs. Yeah. Remember the Black Panthers. Thank you so much, Terry Connolly. Creative Experiment says, in war, sacrificial armies are always used. Cobra Commander says, the tactic he's speaking of is actually something the U.S. military took from Mao Zedong. If the enemy retreats, we advance. If the enemy advances, we retreat. Killy Grigor says, take our protests to the corporate offices, not the politicians. Well, really the corporate dictators. James Starks says, organize, organize, organize. Thank you so much. Going to the Rock. All right. There. All right. So, yeah. So, this is ongoing right now. The people, are out there, and, protesting Cop City. And dare I say, they might be out in the streets right now because they are. Woo! Yeah, they're bringing the police into the chambers. Let me, before I go, let me just listen to this really quick. And then I'll end with that. Hang on, because this stuff is ongoing, like literally as we speak. All right, so let's hear what this young person has to say.
Ancestors bled on, and that land that my people continue to bleed on. I want to bring Ancestor Marshall Rancifer into this space and Ancestor Brother Haroon into this space because they would be here had the city of Atlanta not killed them. I want to thank everyone who came here today who wore a mask because, as we know, cops spread COVID and community spreads care, and we will not believe the state's lies about this pandemic. The last time I addressed this body, Keisha Bottoms was a council member. I remember as Britta Darden, Sharice Brown, Columbus Ward, and Allison Johnson came to this pulpit to plead for their homes. I remember as then Councilwoman Keisha Lance Bottoms sat on her phone and texted and hee-hee and kikied on her phone as people cried on this pulpit. Not a single member of this body is worthy of being addressed today. But you, the people of Atlanta, are worthy of being addressed today. My name is Eva Dickerson. I am a teacher, a farmer, and a neighbor in Atlanta. I love you. I believe in you so deeply. Do you remember 2020 when we took this city, when we took these streets? Do you remember that they were so terrified of our power that they called out by the hundreds over some damn blue flu? Do you remember Keisha Bottoms getting in the pulpit crying and begging us to behave? This is our city. We do not answer to any of these cowards. They answer to us. Andre Dickens answers to us, and he must get to step in. I will close with reminding you of the stakes. Tortuguita was a warning shot. Rayshard Brooks was a warning shot. Jimmy Atchison was a warning shot. Katherine Johnson was a warning shot. Anthony Hill was a warning shot. Scout was a warning shot. Alexia Christian was a warning shot. Jan Robinson was a warning shot. Oscar Kane was a warning shot.
Time has expired.
The state has shown us their hand, Atlanta.
Time has expired.
They've shown us what they would pay for war.
Thank you.
What would you
Time has
pay for
expired.
freedom?
Thank you. Demetrius Vaughn.
She ate and left no crumbs. She ate and left no crumbs. With that, thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Also, thank you so much. If you guys would like to, you guys can also go to my Substack. And so go to substack.com for email notifications for my streams if you guys would like to get notified for whenever I do go live or upload clips. So thank you so much for that. And thank you so much to all the patrons on Patreon and Coffee, as well as members. I also do have memberships. And thank you to all the people who have left me super chats. That definitely helps. So thank you so very much to all of you for helping me out to keep this channel going. All right. We built this city. All right, everybody. Can't wait to have on next week. I'm going to be having on Kamal Franklin. This Saturday, I'm going to be in. I know we had to reschedule a couple times, but this Saturday, also Kit Cabello, who is also in the chat, is going to be here on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I can't wait to have Kit Cabello from Heartlands on here as well. Mwah. I am late. I got to get over to RBN. I'm only going to be on there for like a half an hour because I got to do, my Marxism class, with Midwestern Marx a little bit after that. But I'll be going over there. So you guys go ahead and follow me over there. And so good to have all of you here today. Look, I got to say, like I always tell you, water your plants, water yourselves. Leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them. Drink them if you got them. If you don't got them, then laugh. Watch something funny, because laughter is a revolutionary act. Joy is a revolutionary act. And by the way, do not stand for when our rights are being fought against. Your rebellious act could be just going to your neighbor, getting to know them, and having solidarity with your community, doing small things for your community. And if many people do small things for their community, well, that's a movement in itself. That's all I got to say. And, mwah, forehead kisses. I know you were waiting for those. Yeah. I'm giving forehead kisses out like French fries, baby. For real.
Thank you.